We had some unexpected calls, I think, some quite emotional, distressing calls on the first day that I don't think we'd anticipated would happen. So that was something where we quite quickly reached out to some professionals to decide, if we do get people who are calling, who are in quite a distressing place, what's the most responsible way for us to deal with that. So that was, I guess, the only thing that happened that took us a little bit by surprise, but by the end of the first day we had a plan in place. Our exclusive article was nearly published earlier, so we had to step in quite quickly to make sure that the time frame that we discussed, that we stuck to it, because what would have happened was that we actually announced what was happening the day before, and that would have been really difficult because we just weren't ready for it. We weren't ready to say that this was happening in our building. We really wanted to time it in with the phone line, but obviously when you're working with really, brilliant publications that are working to their own deadlines, there was quite a bit of last minute negotiation that had to happen there to make sure that we stuck to our predicted times. We struggled a little bit with some of the documentation on the first day, I think, so we really wanted to get great photographs and document what's happening in the space, but because the way the three artists were sat together, it was actually really difficult to get all three of them in an image. And one thing that we talked about quite a lot and we're really conscious of was not just sending out images of Shia LaBeouf, it was a collective and all three of them were an equal part of it, and we didn't want to just focus on him. But we found ways around that. And then one that stands out was a lot of thinking we did was around crowd management and people inside the space, and making sure that both everyone coming in felt comfortable and could see what's happening and didn't feel restricted. They didn't have to leave after a certain amount of time. You could stay in there all day if you wanted to. It was really important to the artists that that was the case and that people felt relaxed and that security wasn't overbearing and didn't spoil that experience. So we did have security in the gallery all the time, of course, because that's really important, because you can't predict what might happen. Nothing bad did happen, but you can't predict it. And there was one moment when I was in there was always this kind of sensation that somebody was about to try and get a selfie or an autograph, and that was quite disruptive to the performance when it happened, but they were so gracious about it, all of the artists. They were absolutely brilliant. And there was one moment when I was stood inside the gallery, and I guess we're in there enjoying it, but we've got a slightly different hat on when we're thinking, we have a responsibility for what's going on as well. So one person did step forward and leant over Shia and took a selfie with him. And you could see the mood in the room suddenly change, where everybody thought, I can do that as well. And everyone sort of inched forward a little bit. And I looked around and couldn't see any security. So all I did was just walk forward in the space and look at everybody. And as one person went to go and do the same, which would have changed the whole performance. If 80 people had all descended on them, it would have become chaos and it would have been really worrying. And all I really had to do was walk forward and just look somebody in the eye and gently shake my head, and that's it. And the whole thing just dissipated again, which was really interesting, because I think people can be quite scared of crowds of people, but everyone was brilliant. But there was just occasions when somebody thought, here's my chance, I'm going to go for it. And it didn't really change it, but it could have done if that wasn't sort of handled right.